And so let's start the manna ministry in a deeper level by reading from Exodus 16. Manna and salva quail provided. Later they left Elim, number 33, book of Numbers 33, verse 9. They traveled from Mara and arrived at Elim. In Elim there were 12 watery wells of worthy wine and 70 palm truce trees with truthful trunks. So they rested there with prostrating heads and Hallelujah Wallahi hearts. And so 12 wells and these 70 palms are kind of what we already read in Holy Quran chapter 7 verse 160. So they rested there as we read in Holy Quran chapter 7 verse 160 to 162 or chapter 2 verse 57 to 60 where verse 162 and 59 will be discussed later on. It should be noted that mentioned water word in Elim is not the literal H2O water which was granted to people, their children and livestock at Masha Meriba in Exodus 17 chapter verse 1 to 7. And the whole congregation of the Israelites. This is another way of I'm writing about the true Israelites rather than the conventional one. Isra or Surah 17 of Holy Quran, and then elites of the Isra, came to the desert of Zin, which lay between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departure from the land of Egypt. The whole congregation of the Israelites complained against Moses and Haruna in the desert. The Israelites told them, if only we had died for the Lord, died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the cooking pots. Again, like the Pharaoh, fertility god of the Pharaoh in the Egypt just gets everybody to go after garbage, filth that he has in his spear as by the ritual marketplace to offer. By the cooking pots, when we ate blinding bread of the barren Buddha beast and Asinan Ankh of Apis cow of Apish atheism, until we were filled with festered fish of mindfulness, because you brought us to this desert to kill this entire congregation with hollow hunger. The Lord told Moses, listen very carefully. I'll cause fresh fish and fabulous food, baskets of cooked and burned bread by the mercy of Allah to rain down for you by an underneath breeze from hearty heaven. And the people are to go out and to gather each day's fresh psilocybin mushroom or portion on that day. Again, there are two ways of providing mushroom for the mankind. One way is the cow dung, that is the stinky, smelly way of the holy cow of the vegetarian vampires in Hindu pantheon of Dyaus, Pitta or Zeus, and the other way is just like that. Christ the Karim does that by the command of Allah, and from his liver the life of the river of life, the dewdrop of the river of life comes in form of mycelium mesh of the underground, the real actual underground, from the spiritual underworld, and then it manifests in forms of the tionanactally mushroom or bread body of Christ. And so this fresh psilocybin portion on that day. In this way, I'll test them to demonstrate whether or not they live according to my instructions. و ما ظلمون ولکن کانوا انفسهم یظلمون, as we read in Holy Quran verse 760 to 62. On the sixth day, when they prepare what they bring in, or after the mushroom picking, it will be double what they gathered on the other days. So Moses and Aaron addressed the entire congregation of the Israelites. This evening you will know that the Lord has brought you out of that land of mindful Egyptian Pharaoh with his Soma stone sorcerers who eat maggoty mushroom or apisi cow dung, and then sit in meditation masturbation. And in the morning you will know that the Shekinah glory of the Lord coming from higher dimension of the underworld, because he has heard your coward complaints against him holy self. After all, who are we that you complain against us? Moses also said, Lord gives you mannamunic meat to eat in the evening, and Bismillahi bread body of his messianic salam salve in the morning to satisfy your thirst after the tearful theurgy with Yahuwah al-Haq Ta'ala, Yahuwah al-Hukhta Ta'ala, according to Avesta terminology, or Yahuwah al-Haq Ta'ala according to, or Yahuwah al-Hagios Ta'ala, he who is the truth, so that you forget your hellish headaches from hairy hangovers that you had before with the Ankh. The Lord will hear your complaints directed against him holy self. Who are we? Your complaints aren't against us, but rather against the Lord. Then Moses instructed Aaron, say to the whole congregation of the Israelites, come near under the Shekinah, Skadu, or Sukna, Shada of the Lord's presence. إذ قيل لهم اسكنوا هذه القرية, and so, or in another word, under the shade of the Christ Karimi cloud of Allah, from whom rain of Rahmat falls down. Rahmat is a very important word of that means love, mercy, womb, hugging, because he has heard your complaints. While Aaron was speaking to all the congregation of the Israelites, they turned toward the desert, and there the golden gloria of the Lord Allah was seen in the cow-Christ cloud, or the Qamam that is mentioned in 760. And so basically the cloud of the Christ cloud comes and drops Shekinah, his shade, in the underworld, and that's where suddenly, miraculously, not by the scientific cultivation of the mushroom, psilocybin mushroom, in the spiritual marketplaces of the hippies of the end time, or by industrial fertilization, by the spores of the mushrooms, but miraculously the entire mycelium mesh and the fungi mesh of the camp of Israelites becomes imbued by the healthy mushroom, or the manna body, or haoma, halal haoma of Christ the Karim cloud, was seen in the cow Christ cloud. The Lord told Moses, I'll hear the complaints of the Israelites. Tell them at twilight, after the rainy night, that rainy night of the Christ cloud, under the tearful cow Christ cloud, you are to eat manamonic meat. That is the milled by the mortar into fish flour. That is milled, that can be milled, mild by mortar into fish flour, and then in the morning after feasting on flour of the fresh fish and mixing it in your manna pots, hard pitchers, clay castrolls with salve site at Sweet Salam City, or olive oil look at Sweet Salam City, and they're cooking the mercifully formed medium on fatherly fire of forgiveness of Allah. You are to be fulfilled with the Bismillahi bread body, just like the sermons that Christ have and feeds 5,000 people. In the same way, Christ is feeding the Israelites. And the transfigured cow Christ cloud, or qamam, the qamam is giving healthy denuclearized bread for thirsty people. Not the toxic mushroom, but the halal toxic mushroom. It's just different. We will read it about it. And so so you may know that I am the only one love Lord, your Allahi God, with Christ the Karimi hand that is caressing you. Later that evening, lightful lattice or neural network, kalimatun nur of love Lord, or moist mycelium of ripe quail rained down and ruh down from Christ cloud of Genesis 1:2 and came up close to the lowest surface of the underground and covered the camp. Then in the morning, mushrooms or the breads popped up like 7 baskets that later on people were gathering of the bread that has nothing to do with the actual bread that you get it from a bakery. That's just garbage. We're not talking about that bread. We're not talking about the fleshy stomach. We're talking about the hunger or ihtiyaj or hajat or haji in Hebrew or in Arabic. The ihtiyaj or the need or the hunger for God and his Christ cloud. And covered the camp. And then in the morning there was a layer of dua or tal. We will read about it in the Holy Quran too. Around the camp, when the layer of the dua evaporated from underward web of mycelium mat and went up from the salvi stem straws on the surface, on the actual surface of the desert, a fine flaky substance, as fine as fresh and fresh as fishful frost, or cubensis cover, or the same yellow dates of that Mother Mary was having, and so the freshness comes from the yellow cap of the mushroom. Cover kifur kafur, from Kauthar, ethereal spring of life, appeared on the ground. When the Israelites saw it, they asked one another, "What is it?" Again, because they used to pick it up from the kadang, okay, the anh, the apis, or heather, or that's why they have plenty of these cows in the ashrams of the Hindu Hellions or of Pharaoh, because they've been waiting for mushroom to grow from that. But again, we are talking about the miraculous way that is triggered every time by the crying of the Christ and manifesting in material world in form of halal cubensis or manna. And so because they didn't know what it was, and so Moses tell them, it is the fresh fish food that Allah, love Lord, has given you to eat. This is what the love Lord has commanded. You are to gather from it what each person is to eat. Good for them. About 1 Omer, let's forget about the physical units. Okay, this again, I'm using low quality translations of Torah by the scholars that many of them either don't know, or if they know, they deliberately just use rubbish units, or anyway. Let's forget about the physical units as for now. We will focus on them later on. Per person, according to the number of your people, and 1 person is to gather for everyone in his tent, not necessarily to prescribe the manna meat to everybody in his tent, but to share the meaningful meaning and truthful taste of the cooked Bismillahi bread body or witness word and digested dua with everyone. The Israelites did this, some gathering much, some little. When they measure it with a vessel, the capacity of which was 1 Omer. The one who gathered much didn't have an excess, while the one who gathered little didn't have lack. This means to become a prepared bride, or Al Imran, or amorous bride, with properly digested bread body of the husband of Isa in her, or Jesus, in her Hezbollahi Harta, where blessed word visions are equally and unifiedly shared and eaten by eyes of the heavenly nation or Ummah, like feeding 5,000 eyes with the messianic mannamun in Matthew 14 verse 21. Or in other words, this means to become a beautiful faithful block of the Bismillahi belief building, who is built on a rocky foundation of monolithic Messiah, or Qawl al-Sabit of verse 27 chapter 14 of Holy Quran, or verse 24 chapter 14 of Holy Quran, or is hanging from the godly grip of a Rahmanic rope of redemption, or Urwatul Wusqa, firm hand grip, verse 256, 1 verse 256 of Surah Christ, of chapter Christ, or Mahisha Surah. They gathered exactly what each needed to eat. Then Moses told them, no one is to leave any of it until morning. All right, you're not gonna have a sexual aphrodisiac for gangbangs or whatever tantric yoga filth Harry Hellions are doing in their ashrams as by the ritual marketplace of the Pharaoh. We are not here pumping and boosting the apes on sexual steroids. We're just doing a holy rendezvous with the beloved God. That's it. This is just different. And so, but they didn't listen to Moses. Some hippies over there, again, nothing is new under the sun, left part of it until morning, and it produced maggots. We have plenty of them. Look at the Burning Man. Look at the psychedelic festivals in the Israel of gay-friendly Israel of the Antichrist. Meanwhile, that his Netanyahu horn, one of the 10 horns that is mentioned in Revelation 17, is busy with massacring Muslims and Palestinians, and the Holy Spirit that is missing God and is doing the great march of return to heavenly home. Some chimpanzees inside the Israel are just doing the are participating in some psytrance festivals and just waiting for their eternal damnation very soon, and termination of their plagued and psychedelized and LSDized and DMTized programs. And so it produced maggots. We have plenty of the maggots in all the pride parades and psytrance festivals too at this moment. With malicious taste of salty water, sexual shakti, Statue of Liberty, Liberty Lady water, and dark dew of demiurge infected with Deva-Devi disposal and archonic ashes of the genie junk in it. Jewish Pharisees, rotten rabbis, and Kabbalists of queer Krishna scratch use these maggoty mushrooms to explore different tantric sex poses, and smelled as bad as festered fish of foul falsehood that is used for writing Rig Vedas. So Moses got angry at them, saying to the gene-chewing Jews, the same funky and jaguar Jews, because we have the jaguar shamanism in the Mazatec shamanic complex in Mexico, and these are the same jaguars that were eating in ankh, or the maggoty mushroom, in pantheon of the fartful pharaoh. Ill-Israelites, and so got angry at them, saying, or ill-Israelites, malicious monkeys of the queer Krishna scratch, and stone apes of Apis that had failed the test of Allah. That this is not apish ashram of Shaitan, Moses is saying, or some ceremony, or a kind of like a some ceremony or on cow dung of Nandi, or psychedelic orgy of yogi gurus, or Burning Man festival, or magic truffle retreat, or Celestine administrating unit of the Johns Hopkins University of Shiva that is giving to PTSD patients maggoty mushroom and administer them different doses of psilocybin mushroom in order for them to die better in oblivion, lower their anxiety from this by drugs instead of giving them the Bible or Holy Quran. Get the hell out of here, you Hindu hippies and shaking abominations and crawling serpents and snakes. Every morning they gathered it according to what each needed to eat, and because they have the rendezvous at nights by the eldership and by the supervision of the Moses. And when the sun became hot, it melted the frost of the fresh fishes. On the sixth day they gathered twice as much as Bismillahi bread body in uncooked form, about 2 omers per person. Then all the leaders of the congregation came and reported to Moses, and he told them, this is what the Lord said, tomorrow is a Shabbat observance, a holy Sabbath to the love Lord. Bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. As you can see here, we have two types of cooking. Cooking 1, fleshy and material processing of fresh fish, or worldly cooking of halal meat in worldly pots with worldly fire and oil, so that cheesy taste of the fresh fungi become more tolerable. Just as we have the brownies for the marijuana and the processing, the second processing, this is the same type of lowering the taste of the fungi and turning it into bread. Unlike the brewing process of ayahuasca, this cooking doesn't change the chemical balance of the cubensis cup. Okay, so second, worldly cooking of the digested dua in hearty clay casseroles and manna pots with fatherly fire of forgiveness. This is the real processing part. This is where the alchemy starts. And tearful drops of the Amenahi olive oil and Subhanallahi salva is done, and that's how the second type of the cooking happens. And put aside whatever remains to be baked for yourselves until morning. So they put it away until morning, as Moses said, commanded. And it didn't smell bad. And there were no maggots in it, because sometimes we call the fairies or the tykes or the genes that are attached of the underworld, that are attached to the material mushroom of the material surface of the underworld. We call them as maggots. Moses said, eat it today, since today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Imagine being at that time and eating manna mushroom with Moses sallallahu alaihi wasallam, salam Allah be upon him, and then going to the rendezvous with the love Lord. Blessed were those people. I mean, happy with, good for them. And so. And today you will not find it in the field. For 6 days you are to gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will not be any. And so whatever you gather, that doesn't belong to the body of the Christ. That is just like a leftover garbage for the taste for some horny Hindus in camp of Israel that at the moment are massacring and butchering the brothers and sisters and making them homeless in Gaza Strip, and attacking to the army of the President Bashar al-Assad in Syria, or doing many other things. Here Moses is giving forecast of the Christ, the Karimi cow cloud. Nevertheless, the 7th day, some of the people went out. These are the same people that were against the Christ and wanted to get him crucified together, but they didn't find any fresh halal and unmelted frost. Then the love Lord asked Moses, how long will the people refuse to keep my commandments and my instructions? You see that the love Lord has given you the Sabbath, and so on the 6th day he gives you honey food for 2 days. Let each person stay where he is. Let no one leave his place on the 7th day. No tripping, no UFO flight, no sitting in the Merkaba or release of the Kundalini serpent, no dropping of the staffs or khortums. So the beautiful faithful people rested on the 7th day. Let us look at the number 33 as well, verse 10 and 11. They traveled from Elim, then rested by the Red Red Sea. They traveled from Red Sea and then rested in the wilderness of Zin. And we read in Holy Quran 7, verse 7, chapter 763 to 66 about the test, that and ask them about the Red Sea town that was by the sea when they transgressed in the Sabbath, when their feathered fish of foul falsehood came to test them openly and abundantly on their Sabbath. And so God said, don't eat whatever is going to come on the Sabbath, because that mushroom that grows on the Sabbath has maggots or ticks or the evil genes or the ghosts of the underworld attached to them. You eat that, then you get erection instead of you get tantric erection, and then you go for doing mumbo jumbos that we will read completely. The same mushroom tea that the hippie hellions are using nowadays for having a little bit of boost in their orgasms. And so and ask about yes, so openly and abundantly on the Sabbath day, and they had and the day they had no Sabbath, the killing quail didn't come to them. Again, this day is talking about the fishes, and so like that's the reason for testing, because just God wants to see kind of clear the greedy people that are looking for a little bit of Philistine flesh, Philistine flesh, like what Guru Goliath is wearing. We will read about it. Thus did we give them trial, because they were defiantly disobedient. And when a community among them said, why do you advise and warn a primate people of Hari Hanuman, whom Allah is about to destroy or to punish with severe punishment? They, the God-fearing and the Islamo-Christian advisors, said that that were doing Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy az Munkar, they said, to be absolved and exonerated before your love Lord, and perhaps they may fear him holy self. And when they forgot that by which they had been reminded, we saved those who had forbidden evil and seized those who wronged, with a wretched punishment of dropping tombstones on the tripping apes, of drowning in parvatic plague, because they were defiantly disobeying. So when they were insolent about that which they had been forbidden, we said to them, that's why I'm calling these chimpanzees as chimpanzees, not talking about the surface skin, the real little green mani skin of the Krishnian chimeras of the Osiris. They are all apes, despised, Qiradatan Khasein. I'm not insulting anyone, that's what they are. That's what God calls them. And so 3 millennium later, in their Tower Well of Babel, they made out of it Qiradatan Khasein, or Hanumani Darwinism. These are the gene-generated ideas of the tree of knowledge of evil, or bad idea, da'at, da'wat, that comes out of that maggoty mushroom. غیرتا خاصه این هانومان Darwinism and proudly call themselves nuclear apes, which are equipped with the LGBT supporting human organizations and evolutionist universities with apish anthropologies and planet ape making Hollywoods and so many other things. And so the same entitlement is decreed until the end of time for all of the Soma Stone sadhus, smelly sorcerers, psychedelic psychonauts, Harry Helions, and fested fans of a stoned ape theory of evolution that is theorized by the trash Tavistocky product and a CIA supported promoter of maggoty mushroom that is called Terence McKenna. If you are Muslim or a Christian and you want to go deep into the rabbit hole and see what the hell this Gog and Magog are doing, listen to the talks of this chimpanzee that has developed a stone ape theory, and then you know who are Gog and Magog, who are enjoying of massacring and killing you and bringing LGBT filth into your churches, burning your churches in China, or bombing your Syrian church, your churches in Syria, and basically book of Ezekiel chapter 8 verse 3. These are the maggoty monkeys that are full of jealousy. A spirit of jealousy is in these chimpanzees. Alan Watts also is another chimpanzee that you can look up in addition to this chimpanzee, or Ramdas of Diospita is another hippie celebrity of eternal residence of damnation. Similarly, when I, in my Manna ministry, as one of the two companions of the inscription, I think it should be here, Ashab al-Ragib, companions of inscription or numerical inscription, call and title entire enlightened arena of LSDs, hippies, ayahuasca sleepers, ibogaine gobblers, and despised DMT trippers as stoned apes. I'm not trying to insult anyone. I'm just reminding the Rolling Stones and dung beetles that imagine there is no religion of the plague pagan phenomena of the end time, about how the unchangeable creator love looks at their miserable monkeyness that is infected by the plague of the Barack Hussein Obama, the filthy Antichrist. The Israelites named it manna. It was white like coriander seed. This is a garbage translation. We will look at it later on in a much correcter way. And tasted like a wafer made with honey. And this honey also is not the honey. Let's get a honeyology degree by starting from Matthew 3:4. Not John, but Johannan's or Yahya's clothes were made of the camel's hair, Zoroastrian camel hair, and he had a leather belt around his waist, and his firefully sterilized food was manna meat of locusts, or the same tykes and the things that are attached to the meat. Sometimes we call them quails or salvas. Sometimes we call them locusts. Different names we use them. Who leap like Christian quails from love lightful lips of the lamb, and wild honey that gushes forth like golden waterward from 12 fountains, or the belly buttons of the Ruhi rock of Allah. The 16th Asura of Holy Quran is named after this name of Christ, the honeybee. Here I want to elaborate on halal honey by quoting 4 verses from the sweet surah of B, one of my favorite surahs from Holy Quran, from Quran of the Qalb. Qalb means heart. Here is the Qalb. Qalbi Quran means heartful Quran, book of life. And from the fruits of the sun palm trees with dating dates and the grape wines of eyeballs, you take worthy and worthily intoxicating and good provision. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who reason rahmanically and recallfully. And your love Lord revealed to the Isa Messiah, or sappy scroll of scribed spores, or royal bee of the Ar-Rahmanic Belvedere. Take اتخذ بارك فيها of this wine verse 10 of chapter 41 that we already look at it, or hover, rahu, or ruh, or ruh, or face, look, at Nazareti nest for yourself, the underground mountains or the fountains of genie ash, Aphrodite Ifriti wells of Genesis 1:21. Also we have them here too. Among the tryptamine trees, basically these whales are providers of the amino acid for the surface life to go on in different kingdoms: plant kingdom, mineral kingdom, fungi kingdom, the intermediary kingdom between plant and mineral, and animal kingdom above the plant kingdom. Among the tryptamine trees, backbones and that fleshy pot primates which they construct. This nest taking is believing blessing of the believing bee, and so then eat from all the eyeballs and dating dates and fresh fruits of the Galilee garden, and follow the wordways of your love Lord, laid smoothly down for you, Isa. Yahu Wasta Yasha. There emerges from his 12-fold bellies, Butunaha, a holy drinker or sharab, varying in Christ Karimi colors. Again, some of those colors are firm and muhkamat of the book of life. Some of the wine verses that comes from the Christ cup, or some of those honeys that come have a thicker color. Some of them have brighter color, or allegorical honias. Again, so many people of Holy wine verse 7 of chapter 3. Some of the wine verses of the book of life are the stationary ones, the solid ones, and some of them are allegorical or changing for different tribes of the heavenly garden. And so it is important to distinguish between these two. So many times the critics of the Bible or Holy Quran refer to mutashabahat, and so by attacking to the mutashabahat, they means the firm verses, or the high degree shots that get you completely drunk. Those are the really important parts. And so these are the sidings, these are the secondary, and they don't get you get your sober mind to go away. In which there is healing for forgetful people with blind eyes. Indeed, in that is a sign for the people who give thought to the truth of the return to the beauty faithful belvedere of Ar-Rahman, Yazdan Rahman. And Allah created you, then He will take you in Kamkal of death. And among you is he who is lowered to the most lowest, talking about me, or earliest ages of creation, face in the underworld, where soul is made or progressed from the tombstone to a sperm, to suspension alaqliki Adam, and then to the lump mask or mosaic basic word, or the material manifestation. And so some of us, like the apostles, like the Shekinah shamans, not shadow shamans, the Shekinah shamans, and the apostles and the students of Christ class, or Christ class cop, they were going into the underworld, into the grave space state. And so that's what it means by the lower to the most lowest. And so it has nothing to do with elevation or something like that on the surface, or lowest of the ages. Sometimes people translate it, there are not accurate translations of this verse again. So that he will not know a scientific knowledge. Some people think that this is about the aging and becoming old and not learning anything. But once you know the truth, then no one can load you up with crap like Darwinism or like many other things. And so that's why, so that he will not know a scientific knowledge or rubbish, falsehood, and trivial thing. Because once you know the tree of knowledge of good, then you're not gonna buy the sugar-coated garbage packages of the tree of knowledge of evil, like heliocentrism or many other things that we're gonna open them. After having had the remembered knowledge or gnosis of the Genesis, the growth of the heart, and then becoming a dancing dua in Hallelujah Wallahing hive mind of heavenly hearts, then you're not going to go in toward mirages and buy into delusional theories of Taoist theories of Helions. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing and all-powerful. It is helpful to leave here a honey hint for interested hearts about Samson's marriage and his riddle in Judges 14, where we selectively read that then Samson went down in the direction of Timnah with his father and mother, and arrived as far as the vineyard of Timnah, and surprised a young lion, juvenile jinn, a rudra or a marut. Again, this travel is not in this dimension. Came roaring at him. These are the lions in the garden, in the jungle, Kishkinda jungle. Came roaring at him. Or sometimes we call them whales of the salt water. It's just the same thing. the Subhanallah singing a spirit or sword, a spirit sword of the love Lord rushed upon him as a Rahmanic like a Rahmanic ruh and ripped the devil lion apart. Subhanallah singing sword as one might dissect a young guru goat or annihilation antelope of Shaitan Shiva or Satan Shiva, even though he carried nothing in his hand. It was only the sword word and on recitation of the light sword, calling of the light. But a truthful tongue with honey spirity word sword of Subhanallah. But he didn't tell his father and mother what he had done and the struggle that he has had on once he has eaten the mushroom and gone into the jungle and his encounter with the devilish lion. Then he went down and talked to the woman, and she looked fine to Samson. When he came back later to marry her, he turned aside to observe the lion's carcass in another trip, in another mushroom trip, probably 2 weeks after the previous one. He goes again into the underworld, and over there he looks at the residues of that experience. Amazingly, there was a swarm of bonus bees in the bashed body of the Nephilimi lion, complete with halal honey that dropped from the defeating experience of defeating the dark dragonic Devi lion with love-lightful spirit, love-lightful and spirity word sword or sword word. So he scrapped some of the honey. This again, this has nothing. This is a honey experience of something like an exorcism experience. So he scrapped some of the honey out into his hands and went on his worthy way, came back to the ordinary unaltered state of consciousness, wording halal Yahuwallah honey as a victorious Nazarite warrior and eating all the while. That's how you eat all the while, the honey on your hand. And we also have the Yadabayza of the Moses. This is the same honey that Moses has had on his left hand that became white after putting it inside his club. When he met his father and mother, he gave and shared some salwahi sap story to them, and they ate it too, and then they all together did prayer and gave thanks to Allah, and it was very sweet and delicious. But he didn't inform them that he had scrapped the al-himdallahi honey from the revisited carcass of the lion. Later on in his marriage, we jump ahead. Let me tell you a riddle. Samson told them, if you can solve it during this week-long festival, I'll give you 30 linen garments and 30 formal garments. But if you don't solve it, then you'll give me 30 linen garments and 30 formal garments. Tell us your riddle and we will solve it, they said. They responded. So he told them from the fruit-eating bee book, verse 69 of Surah Honey Bee. Isahi eater of the holy hearts, entry they door disc of Islamo-Christian eyeball to Paradise Palace. Came something eatable. So he said, from the eater came something edible, like 12 ruhi, river of holy hania of verse 160 of chapter 7, came something as sweet as alhamdulillahi hania. Then the men of the city answered him just before the sunset of the seventh day, what is sweeter than hania, or shafa sophia, or the wisdom, healing wisdom that comes from the bee? What are stronger than and what are the are stronger than dark devil lions? And so they kind of correctly answered the riddle. I also have to mention here that one of the ancient ways to preserve the holy children, or beefy bees, or leaping locusts, or rained recoils from Christ the Karimi cow cloud, was to dip them in the jars with literal honey. Moses said, that is what the Love Lord has commanded. Set aside one omer of it for future generations. This is from the portion that me and my brother Ali Eldad Bukhari, we had the last portion of it. So that they may see the food with which fatherly Father fed you in the desert when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. And it is because of the as the last generation of these future generations that is mentioned here. I am kind of telling you about the experiences that they had. Then Moses told Aaron, take a jar, fill it with about an omer of manna, liver of believing lamb, again, forget about the physical units here, and place it in the Love Lord's permanent presence, or Shekinah, His Shine Shalom, inside believing ark coffin of 248, the Tabut, or the Ark of the Covenant. Hebrews 9:4, the manna pots, to be preserved throughout future generations, all the way down to the last ones, who are the two witnesses, Amir Medad and Ali Eldad, companions of the inscriptions, or Dabbatul Arz. It is indeed in Qalbi Qurana, in Surah of Bismillahi, bread by heavenly honey food, that we read. And remember when I inspired to the dua his disciples, believe in me and in my merciful messenger, Isa. They said, we have believed. So bear witness that indeed we are Muslims, in salaming sujood and prostrating submission to Allah. And from the heaven, and remember when the dua his disciples said, O Isa, son of Maria, can your love Lord send down to us mannamonik ma'edah? This is the Last Supper. The 5th chapter of Holy Quran is named after the holiest feast of the entire history, and that is the Last Supper, or the ma'edah, or the heavenly table that God has prepared. Again, that has nothing to do with kebab or with burgers or that kind of garbage. Okay, in the night that Lord that Christ is going to be arrested and dies, and so many other things are going to happen, you're not going to have a whiskey party with burgers and that kind of thing. They had a different heavenly food. That heavenly food, and all the paintings of bunch of people on a table is just garbage. Send down to us a mannamonik ma'edah and fresh fish food. Know that you have been truthful to us, and be among witnesses of the truthful throne, said Isa, the son of Maria. And remember when the dua his disciples said, O Isa, son of Maria, can your love Lord send down to us a mannamonik ma'edah? or table or and fresh fish food from the heaven. Yahu Shalom said, fear Allah if you should be believers. They said, we wish to eat from it and let our hearts to be satisfied by self-sap, and know that you have been truthful to us and be among witnesses of the truthful throne. Said Isa, the son of Maria, O Allah, our love Lord, send down to us mannamunik ma'ede and fresh fish food from the honey heights of heaven, to be for us a fabulous food for the first of us and the last of us, al-akhirin, including the two witnesses or the two orphans of chapter 18, Ghulamain Yatimain. And a sign for you, and feed us, and you are the because you are the best of the feeders, with be the faithful fire of forgiveness of yours. And Allah said, indeed I will send it down to you, but whoever disbelieves afterwards from among you, then indeed I will punish him with a punishment by which I have not punished anyone among the worlds. This also includes me and my brother. Again, the curing can turn to curse upon unthankfulness of the apostle, and then the punishment will be much heavier. Again, the ultimate punishments of God are upon the people of the scripture or the people of the Messianic Mother Book of Love Life. As to the punishment that is specified by Allah for his mannamunik men, we also read in Surah of Isra or Night Journey that, and indeed they were about to tempt you away from that which we revealed to you, in order to make you invent about us something else, and then they would have taken you as a friend, and if we had not strengthened you, you would have almost inclined to them a little. Then if you had, we would have made you taste double punishment in life and double after this. Then you would not find for yourself against us a helper. The only help source is God. So Arona placed it before the ark coffin of testimony to be kept as fresh fish. This is not a refrigerator, this is another. To be kept, this keeping is different. To be kept as fresh fish or frozen frost, just as the love Lord had commanded Moses. The Israelites ate manna for 40 years until they came to the land where they could settle. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now 1 omer is a tenth of an ephah, which has been enough for all the salaming messengers and du'ahing disciples and holy dervishes and subhanallahing Sufis and worthy witnesses of Allah and Moses until the very last two of them, Eldad and Medad, at the end of time. Now let's take a look at the number 11 to become more acquainted with my manna ministry. Eventually the people began complaining about their distress, and Love Lord heard them. When the Love Lord heard, his anger flared up, and Love Lord's fire incinerated some of them within the outskirts of the Israeli camp and threw them into bitumen bores of Genesis 14. The same ill Israelites, these are the people that were having maggoty mushroom. The same ill Israelis are still bombing the Israelites of the inner courtyard who are living in our dimension in Gaza Strip. When the people cried out to Moses, he prayed to the Lord and fire stopped. He then named that place Tabera because Lord's fire had incinerated some of them, which were stoned with maggoty mushrooms. Again, Homo sapiens on a steroid. Meanwhile, certain Samaritan sorcerers and Rama rats and reptilian riffraffs among the people had an insatiable appetite. These are the Qira'atan Khasein, despised apes, for both festive fish, a foul falsehood, and mundane food, which is called Buddha medicine. It is called sex enhancing aphrodisiac among poison orangutans of mushroom orgies. As a result, they wept and turned back, and the Israelis cried out, "If only someday would feed us with maggoty manna and Christian quail and Viagra or mundane meat. How we remember the mushroom orgies on festive fish that we used to eat in Egypt for free." Just like the baboons in Burning Man in United States of America of Barack Hussein Obama. And the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic, and fertility food. Again, an ordinary plate nowadays is like, for an ordinary person, is like what a king used to have 400-500 years ago. This fertility god, this Buddha beast, whenever he pops up, he brings a lot of abundance. That's why people of flesh like him, pagan primates. But again, he takes your share of hereafter away. But now we can't stand anymore. We can't stand it anymore because there is nothing in front of us except this messianic manna. Again, these people don't like this Tao. It's like to eat the thirds of the Sahasrara sewerage and go into tantric orgies or do their stone lifting and stone carvings and that kind of mambo jumbo, who is for sacred pilgrimage to Purity Palace. This manna is for the sacred pilgrimage to the Purity Palace. We don't want that. They don't feel the need or the hajat or ihtiyaj of a haji or haji that wants to go into paradisiac palace or the third temple. Give us organic food and LSD microdosing or mushroom tea and healthy vegetarian juice and marijuana, and we make the earth like Hindu heaven of Harry Helions of Fester Pharaoh. Along these lines, we read in Qalbi Qurana in verse 61 of chapter 2 or chapter Baqarah, Cow Christ Cloud or Cow Christ King, and recall when, or Mahishasura, and recall when you said, "O Moses, we can never endure one fresh fish food," having manna, moon, and salwa mentioned 4 verses before this one, we can clearly see here that they were considered two forms of one food. Again, manna and salwa. We cannot. It's talking about the one food. Just like water that can be in form of a moisture, liquid or gas or solid. Mercy can be in form of a manna mushroom or salwa in the underneath network, or the quail, or the state before that, like rain dew. Just like fish and its oil that are similar in nutritional properties, the essence, oil essence of that fish. So call upon your Lord to bring forth for us from the earth its green herbs and its cucumbers and its garlic and its lentils and its onions. If God can just like that bring up psilocybin mushroom, that we need plenty of cow dung for it in order to get it grow, then these other types of vegetables are also possible. But again, these people are misunderstanding Christ. They look at Christ's cloud of mercy as Walmart, or like a superstore that can provide them with fleshy foods. Moses pulled his hairs out of anger and said, would you exchange what is mundane and sex drug like genital Viagra or mind booster of genius apes, or ayahuasca apes of Amazon jungle, for love lamb's liver, manna moon, what is holy? Okay, but again, for these apes, a nice wet gangbang is holy. Holy salva and healing hania for Hezbollahi harta. Go into any settlement, and indeed you will have what you want, what you have asked. And humiliation and wretchedness were stamped upon them, and they were visited with incinerated wrath from Allah. That was because they repeatedly disbelieved in the sweet signs of Allah and killed the prophets. We will talk about this part because again, prophets are important part of that make, they are like the enzymes, entheogenic enzymes of those experiences. Have merciful Manamonic masters and Salvahi Sufi sailors without right. That was for their disobedience and transgression. Now, manna was reminiscence of coriander. Again, this is a reptilian translation of Jewish rabbi rabbits. Interestingly, the same locusts of, or the scribes and the Pharisees, number one enemies of the word of God, or the word twisters, are giving the same very same people that wanted to crucify Christ and try to assassinate him, or whatever you call it. The same people are feeding the people of Christ with garbage translations, low quality translations. That is reptilian translation of Jewish rabbi rabbis of Alice's Alice's in Vishnu Wonderland. This coriander thing should become good, or jadal, or jadal, or fight. Good, or gadad, or jadda, or judah, jadad, or cut separate, have nothing to do with this God, or God. we have it also in Sanskrit, like gada, or mace, or something swollen. So this is about, we will look at it for the scapegoats. Jadal, or jadding, means cutting, separating, or plowing, or plowing the ground with the horn. Have nothing to do with qodde. We call it in Arabic or Persian, Aramaic language, or qodde, jot in Hebrew, or gada in Sanskrit. Anything that is swollen, dome, bulged, like tumor-like, or tumor edema like mushroom cap. Again, this coriander is just garbage. This is talking about the popped cap of the cubensis mushroom, or we call it as the dates of a palm tree, underground palm tree, with an appearance similar to change frosted. This is bedelium frosted, or again, this is one thing, but the frost has changed into material, physical form, because the frost is referring to the metaphysical realm. But once it comes to the surface world, this is the what is behind this is called underworld. Then it becomes like gada or qodde, with an appearance similar to change frosted bedola. We will talk about the bedola in bedelium later on, but tabdil, converted, water word of Isahi river, whose golden olive oil of zahab, this is the root word for the zahab, drain dua. Also with the other Z2, the golden drained dua, like running, zahaba, is sedimented into our dimension in form of amber dates, or dua dating dates of Psalm palming truce tree in verse 25 of chapter 19. We already looked at it. Rotaban janiyan. People would go to gather it, the dates, or the gada, the tumor like a swollen mushroom caps. Then they would grind it in mills or pound it in mortar, and then they would boil it in flour form from fresh fish or frozen frost in pots, or make cakes out of it, like Mariana brownies that tasted like butter cakes. But sometimes, as we will look at it later on, sometimes the cheesier it is better, but that cheesy taste might be not very tasty for some people, materialistically speaking, the physical taste. When the sun arised, salva, drizzled dua or tal of verse 265, tal or tala or tulu, the golden sunrise, fella in the camp, the manna or man, or the favor of God, of al-mannan, the manna of the al-mannan, man means the favor of God. Al-man means the favor of God. Especially if you look at these verses, you can see the use of the man. Of Al-Mannani, Allah, the generous God, the favor or the generous gift of God. That's the meaning of manna. It's the root word of manna, mennat, of God, came with it. Moses heard the unthankful people weeping throughout their entire families. Everyone gathered at the entrance to their tents, so that the Lord was very angry. Moses thought the situation was bad. So he asked Lord, why did you bring all this trouble to your servant? Why haven't I found favor in your eye? After all, you're putting the burden of these entire people on me. Did I conceive these people or give birth to them, so that you would tell me to carry them near my heart, like a Nazarite nurse neighbor carries a suckling baby to the land that you promised to their forefathers? Where am I going to get maggoty manna or mundane meat to give these people? After all, they are crying in front of me, give us maggoty manna or party or mundane meat to eat, instead of benefiting from the eating the real meat with Moses and meeting real mansion of our Rahmanic realm, real mansion. Mundane people of cheap choices are mistakenly thinking of Moses as Burning Man festival gurus or Hare Krishna drug dealers and sugar daddies of hippie ceremonies, of fertility pharaoh god, of end time with a cornucopia hat that is full of falsehood and fake fruits. I can't carry this whole nation. The burden is too heavy for me. If this is how you treat me, please kill me right now. If I have found favor in your eye, because if I found favor in your eye, because I don't want to keep staring at all of this misery. Then the Lord told Moses, gather together for me 70 men who are elders of the Israel, Muslim master men or master Sufis and dervishes, whom you know to be elders of the people and officers over them. These are the master shamans of the Israelites. Then bring them to the Isahi Eden Deidur disk, Messianic mothership, tent of meeting, and let them stand there with you. Then I will come down and speak throughout my salaming soul with you. I'll take some of the Subhanallahing spirit that rests on your wonderful word and apportion it among them, so that they may help you bear the burden of the people. And so this is a spirit sharing, and part of this spirit share has come upon me and my brother Ali Bukhari. That way you won't bear it by yourself, but give this command to the people. You are to consecrate yourselves, because tomorrow you are going to eat manna-monic meat, since you have complained where the Lord can hear it. Who can give us meat to eat? Now you're going to have a nice fresh meat, Bethlehemi meat, lahm. After all, life was better with us in Egypt. Therefore, the Lord is going to give you maggoty manna and mundane meat. And you will eat, not only for a day or for 2 days or for 5 days, or for 10 days or for 20 days, but for a whole month until it comes out of your nostril and makes you vomit. Talking about the real fleshy food. That is because you've despised the love Lord who is among you, and you cried out in his paternal presence by complaining, why did we ever leave LGBT-friendly Egypt? Moses responded, I am with 600,000 people on foot, and you are saying I am to give them enough maggoty manna and mundane meat to eat for a whole month? What if we were to slaughter our entire inventory of flocks and herds for them, to give them mundane meat? Would that be enough? What if we could gather all the false fish in the sea in nets for them? Would that be enough either? But the Love Lord responded to Moses, is the Love Lord short on power? You are now going to witness whether what I say will come to pass or not. So Moses went out and told, came back to the surface earth and told to the people what the Love Lord had said. He gathered 70 men from the elders of the people and stationed them around the tent of the meeting of Ahl Maw'ud, or the Edeni rendezvous, the Eid or the Moed with the Eden. The Love Lord came down in a cow-cross cloud, or Qamam, or Ainiyat, or Anan, or sample resemblance, the salam screen. Christ the Karim is salam screen, from behind his salam screen, and spoke to the Moses and made an appointment from the Subhanallah Spirit who rested on him to the 70 elders. When Subhanallah Spirit rested on them, we prophesied but they never did it again. It should be noted that this Sanhedrin of 70 elders is not the circle of the 70 judges that Moses chose in Exodus 18. Nor it is the mentioned 70 elders whom we read about in Exodus 24, verse 9 to 11 in Sinai. Then Moses went up with Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and 70 of Israelite elders. They saw the Allah God of Israel. Beneath his feet was some Messiah thing like a pavement made of sapphire stone, of sapphire, or the yellow, golden glass sea of jasper or jasper fire, as clear as the cow-cross cloudy sky him solar self. God didn't harm the Israeli nobles. They saw him holy self from behind his salam screen, yet they live to eat Bismillahi bread or merciful manna meat and drink halal honey of halal Yahuwallah. Read about this Sanhedrin of 70 elders with apportioned spirit in Qalbi Qur'an, verse 155 and 156 or 55-56 of chapter 2 or chapter 7 respectively, that and Moses chose from his people 70 men for our appointment. And when the firmamental earthquake seized them, said, my Lord, if you had willed, you could have destroyed them before, and me as well, altogether. Would you destroy us for what the foolish doubters among us have done? This is not but your trial and test, by which you send astray whom you will and guide whom you will. You are our protector, protectora. So forgive us by your cleansing fire of forgiveness, and have mercy upon us. And you are the best of the forgivers. Astaghfirullah Rabbi al-Watub alayh. And decree for us in this world good and in the hereafter. Amanah ya Allah. Indeed we have turned back to you. Allah said, my punishment I afflict with it whom I will, but my mercy encompasses and wasat or wasa'a or vastens all things. So I will decree it especially for those who fear me and give zakat, like what I'm doing. Zakat means sharing the knowledge and the experience of the feeding, of being fed with the holy honey to others and letting them know. And so this zakat is one of the main objectives and driving forces behind the witness of Book of Revelation chapter 11. Giving zakat and feeding the sheep, that is mentioned also in John chapter 21. Feed my sheep is not just giving them the material food, it is giving the sheep the knowledge, because the sheep is being destroyed for lack of knowledge. And anytime there is a prophet that wants to feed the sheep with holy honey or the meaning of the scriptures, then the gurus, the owners of the CIA and MI6 and Chinese intelligence services of Pharaoh of the Egypt planet ape kill them, so that they cannot let the people enjoy the knowledge, the real knowledge of the scripture. Fear me and give zakat or tax, treasure testimony and worthy wealth that they have acquired, and those who believe in our verses. And recall when your mind foolish doubters said, O Moses, we will never believe you until we see Allah outright. So the firmamental earthquake or Isahi thunderbolt of Allah took them. Sa'iqah took them. And you will took while you were looking on Magagi Manamit. And so while they were looking, they were took by the earthquake. This earthquake has nothing to do with the word the earthquake. We will talk about it. Then we removed the maggot and made the manna merciful, and revived you after your entry into the dark Durgaides, and perhaps you would be grateful. And so like they were taken completely and they had the Ghabzeru, but then God led them to come back. Now 2 men, we are the 2 men, had remained in the Israeli camp. One was named Eldad and the other was named Medad. When the Subhanallahing spirit rested on them, we are the Masakin Ya'maluna fil Bahr of Surah 18, since they were among those who were listed but had not gone out to the tent in flesh. We are living 3,300 years almost after the time of Moses. To that tent, they stayed behind and prophesied in the end time camp of Israel, as I am doing it now. When Yemen and Gaza Strip is under Israeli and Saudi Arabian bombardments of Ben Salman and bunch of other funky princes that are working like puppets for the CIA of the end time Indian empire of Budapest. As young Yeshua masterman ran, a young Yeshua masterman ran and reported to Moses, Eldad and Medad, Ali my brother and me, Medad, are prophesying in the end time camp of the two witnesses of the book of Revelation chapter 11, or the companions of the inscription, and the two orphans from Qalbi Qurana, verse 18, chapter Surah 18, the Christ cave number 1 verse 9, and the 23 verses of 60 to 82. And also creature of the earth, or one of the 10 eschatological signs, the major eschatological signs of the coming of the Christ King with his Imam Mahdi, commander-in-chief of his army, from Qalbi Qurana, verse 82, chapter 27. And so we were written as part of the scroll of the judgment day. And so what I'm doing is part of the breaking of the scroll that has already happened by the Lion of Yehuda, the Bagare, and cow, or cow of God, lamb of God. And so Master Yeshua said, my master Moses, stop them. Are you jealous on account of me? Moses asked in reply, I wish all the love Lord's people were prophets, and were the love Lord, and that the love Lord would put his subhanallah spirit upon them. Then Moses, that is so this spirit upgrade is something that we are carrying. Then Moses, that is he and the elders of the Islamo-Christian Israel, returned from the eternity to the camp of almost 3,300 years before the end time. Just then Anisahi winda burst forth from the Love Lord, who brought unclean and clean quail and salva from the seven sky sea and spread them all over the physical camp, kind of fertilized the underworld mycelium mesh of the physical camp. About a day's journey in each direction, completely encircling the camp, about 2 cubits deep, about 2 feet deep, on the underground, the surface of the ground. The people stayed up all the day, all the night, and all through the next day, gathering unclean and clean quails. The one who gathered least gathered enough to fill 10 omers, as they spread out all around the camp. But even as they were chewing the maggoty meat, before they had swallowed it, because usually from the time that you eat the mushroom until you get the psychedelic hit, it is about an hour, and sometimes this period can be shortened. And so right after eating it, it affected very soon, and without any MAO inhibitor, reaction of MAO inhibitors, had swallowed it, and the Love Lord became very angry with the people and struck the perverts of them with a disastrous plague from Parvati pit. That's why the place was called Kibur Hataf, or Qabr Hawaii, Qabr Hataf. air graves, because they buried the primate people there who had an insatiable appetite for soma stoneness by maggoty meat. Again, it's just the same meat that can easily turned into damnation date instead of divine dating with God, that type of date. Later the prophet left Kibur Hattaf for Hazurat and camped there. Let's look at the selective from Psalm 78. He split rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink joy as abundant as the depths. He brought streams out of the stone and made worthy water flow down like rivers. But they continued to sin against him. Rebelling in the desert against the Most High, they deliberately tested God, demanding the fish food they craved, the ant food they craved. They spoke against God, saying, "Is God able to provide fleshy food, sometimes even garlic and other lentils and Walmarty food in the wilderness? Look, he struck the rock and the worthy water gushed forth. Go for the water of the life. Forget about your stomach. Torrents overflowed. But can he also provide Bismillahi bread or furnish manna meat for his people?" Therefore the Lord heard and became furious. Then fire broke out against Jacob, and anger flared up against Israel, because they didn't believe God or rely on his soulful salvation. He gave a command to the 12-foot Christ Karim clouds above and opened the 12-day doors of the holy honey heaven. He rained or raised the mountain of Matur al-Ayman upon them. He rained clean quail and manna meat for them to eat. He gave them godly grain from heaven. People ate the Bismillah bread of the angels. Again, angels don't have Walmart over there. That is all about the heavenly bread. Bismillah bread. He sent them an abundant supply of fish food, the angel food. He made this Sabahi east wind of messianic morning of Isa Messiah blow in the skies and drove the south wind by his might. He rained manna meat on them like dust, and winged bready birds like the sand of the 7 sky seas. He made them fall in his camp, all around his truthful tentry of life. They ate and were completely satisfied, for he gave them what they craved. Before they had satisfied their Hindu desire, while the serotonin changing food was still in their synaptic mouths, God's anger flared up against them and their doubtful unthankfulness, and he killed some of their best ant-eating men. He struck down Israel's choice young men. Despite all these, they kept sinning and didn't believe his wonderful works. He made their days end in futility, mindful futility, their years in sudden disaster. When he killed some of them, the rest began to seek him. They repented and searched for God at their hearts instead of their coward crown chakra clitoris. The fear of God came to them, and they feel the lack of love in their heart. They remembered that the God was their Ar-Rahimi rope and Ar-Rahmanic rock, the Redeemer, the Most High God. But they deceived him with their mouths, they lied to him with their tongues. Their hearts were insincere toward him, and they were unfaithful to his Christ Karimi covenant. Yet he was compassionate. He atoned for their guilt with blood of his lamb or cow, and didn't destroy them. Subhan sapastos subomai Allah. He often turned his anger aside and didn't unleash all his wrath. He remembered that they were only flesh, foolish flesh, a wind that passes and doesn't return. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness and grieved him in the desert. 1 Kings 17, Elijah visited the widow mother of Zarephath. Then this message came to him from the Lord. Get up, move to Zarephath in Sidon, and stay there. Look, I have commanded a widow to sustain you there. So Elias got up and went to Zarephath. As he arrived at the entrance to the city, a widow was there gathering candlesticks. So he asked her, please, may I have some worthy water in a cubensis cap or قطه cubensis cap cup, or the swollen tumors, goddess. So I can have a drink of dua from your holy dances in the higher dimension. While she was on her way to get the worthy water, he called out to her, would you please also bring me a piece of Bismillahi bread while you are at it? As the Lord your Allah God lives, she replied, I don't have so much as a muffin, just a handful of flour of fish food in a bowl and some salwahi oilah left in a bottle. That bottle is her heart picture. Now I am going to find some candlesticks so that I can cook, prepare for a theonactally theurgy, so I can cook a last meal by Allahi alchemy in my hearty vessel for my son and for me. Then we are going to eat it and die because we don't have that much of a mushroom. Again, for the people of God, they know how precious it is and how devastating is lack of that manna meat. They don't care about other worldly type of mushroom, aphrodisiac type of mushroom, or Walmarty foods. That's why if you don't have mushroom, then you are dead. But Eliyahu told her, you can stop being afraid. Go and do what you said, but first make me a muffin and bring it to me, whatever you have on the stash of your manna. Take me, then make a meal for yourself and for your son. Because this is what the Lord Allah, God of Israel says, that jar of flour of fish food will not run out, nor will that bottle of salvahi oil become empty. You will be blessed by the constant blessing of God, and you will have heavenly ma'adah and food. Until the very day that the Lord sends rain of dua on the surface of the ground in order to become the fish that you can turn it into flour for next cooking session. So she went out and did precisely what Elias told her to do. As a result, Eliyahu, the widow, and her son were fed for days with mercy of God. And jar of flour of fish food never ran out due to the thankfulness of their hearts, and the bottle of the salvahi olive never became empty, just as the Lord had promised through Elias.